What's up, ultra happy people? I am your host, ultra runner and coach, Tania. And here is your magnificent co-host, Andy.
The half marathon runner.
And I am like laughing so much because Andy decided that he hasn't taken his medal off from the last Saturday when he did his first half marathon. That's a full week wearing the medal.
Wore it on the day. Wore it to bed.
He went to bed with it. I'm starting to feel pretty jealous.
For those who are listening on Spotify or our Apple Podcast friends, I still have it on.
Yeah.
I'll show.
I'll put up a picture.
Actually, we're only joking. I just put it on for the podcast. But look.
But I was laughing. He was like, "It's here."
It says finishing on it. I'm very happy about that.
Well, obviously, as you know, everyone, let's clap for Andy. First half marathon. I think anyone that's out there, if you are starting your journey, you probably know how hard it is to get to, I think, the first half. I think it's, you know how it's like, there's like steps and kind of levels that you kind of like start unlocking. I think that's the first big one. I think the first is like the 10K, when you're able to like run the 10K. And then like the next like proper one is like 21.
Yeah. So. I think, do you know the funny thing is that, I think I spoke about it on the last podcast, and we spoke about it a lot, and I've spoken to other people about it, is on the whole run up to it.
Yeah.
I just wasn't nervous. I didn't have any concerns about it at all. And even when I went to bed that night, I was fine. And then I woke up at like 1 a.m. and thought,
well, you're nervous.
My God, I'm running half marathon.
You were okay, to be honest.
But we also talked about those pre-race nerves and turning up and the imposter syndrome, remember?
Yeah.
I did say to you, to remember when we were sitting not far from the finish line, and I was saying, God, look at all these people, they all look like pros. I had my moment of like,
and look at you, you are a pro as well.
I had my moment of like nervousness, but it was only 2, so I was quite pleased with that, because that was the thing I was worried about.
Yeah.
Because like we were saying, I kind of not knew I could do the distance and stuff like that, because everybody has their doubts, I guess.
Yeah.
But I was pretty confident I could do the distance. So I've got to say, I was so pleased that we got it done. And do you know what was actually really nice? And I'm going into a bit of a chat here about it. Is that you jumped in and you ran with me?
Yeah. I ran a half the day before, just normal training. Yeah, that's what happens later. A half is just a regular day. But I did a half, and then I needed to do another 2 hours the next day. And I said, well, you know what? I'm just going to jump in. And maybe this is not going to be good for some people that I say this, but I did jump in a little bit illegally into it because I didn't have a number. But I didn't grab water. I didn't grab a medal, or I didn't have the pack or anything. I was just pure cheerleading. And my idea was to jump in and out of it, but I kind of got...
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I got too excited and I ran the whole thing.
The truth of the matter is, you had to run that day anyway. So you would have ran the route outside the fence, if not.
I was gonna say, and the street is it's public, right? So you know, I managed. You know, I was gonna see if it was very like security would take you out and whatever, but it was just pretty, it was pretty okay. So we're going to get connected live as well on Instagram. We'll start doing that just if you have any questions. We usually record on Wednesdays, but if you catch us in there online, follow me on Tania runs _the world, and we'll be doing some lives once in a while.
And for anybody interested on Instagram, that's my medal.
Oh my God. Yeah, we can save this one. So
that's my first medal, so I'm proud of that.
I am so excited. And like I said, I am so proud, more so because obviously Andy's journey started a year ago, and it just started with just a simple wee trot in the treadmill. And it just has been it's been exciting to see you kind of growing into loving it a little bit more and more every time. And now it's like half marathon later, here we are. You say you were nervous. How did you feel on the day, like during the run?
Because of my ankle problems and knee problems, I had in my head, if I got the first sort of 10K out of the way, first 10K out of the way, then I would be fine.
I think 10, you were very comfortable in 10K now.
In fact, there was times that I didn't even realise that I'd picked up the pace, and going back and looking at my Coros information, there was times I was running like 6 sub 6 minute kilometres.
Oh, here's another thing. Andy's like, I would love to do it in 2:30 or less. So obviously I'm like, all right, Chief, this is what we're doing. So I was like, okay, just follow me, just stay behind, or like just don't go too wild.
We were kind of pacing each other. For
Yes. So I was like, just don't go too far or don't go too slow. Let's just stay here. And I was trying to keep the pace. Like I was looking. I usually don't look at my watch, to be honest. But because he had this goal or this idea, I did try to stay on like on it.
It's because I had this panic that I might come in last.
And you didn't. You didn't come last. And I think in the overall results, you actually went halfway.
I was exactly half. Pack, yeah.
Listen, I am a mid runner as well. A mid of the pack runner as well. Any of my races, pretty much. So that's brilliant. Sorry. So you were saying
6:21. I got in on.
Which from like million.
Sorry, 2:21. 2:21. 2 hours 21 minutes.
Oh yes, so we finished in 2:21. So that was great.
So I beat what my expectation.
So the 10 kilometer was, I can see you were like really good. Even the first 5K, you were actually going really strong and really fast. And I'm like, Andy, just like chill, because this is.
And that was in my head, because
great.
I read everywhere and everybody says the first 5 minimum, first 10. In fact, a lot of people say the first half.
Yes.
Just take it easy. And in my head, I was taking it easy, but I felt like, as I said to a few people, the thing is my engine felt good on the day.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So
that's great to have a good day.
So it was like going, but I know from my runs on the trails that 1 week you can have a really good day, and the next week it can be just
the next day your body decides to feel weak.
With the punches a little as well.
Yeah.
But but then at kilometre 18.
Yes, so I told you, I think the longest you've run before the half was like 15.
Yeah,
and then in the trails we've done 18, which is, running steadily without stopping, which is different from trails. I think the longest you've done, it was like 15.
Yeah, 15 generally speaking 15, was my distance, 10 to 15.
And I know that 15, 18, that's when all the wheels start coming off. It's like the mile or the kilometer 30 for all marathon runners. That's when everything starts falling off and you're starting to feel all the kilometers kind of start sinking in. So that's what I was like, just hold in there, because kilometer 15 and the kilometer 18, that's when you start picking up all the bodies that didn't play well. This is when it's gonna start, because 18 is like you're so far away. So far ahead, but you cannot quit because you're close, but you're still not very close. So as those last 3 kilometers, I think it was a struggle. And kilometer 18, you felt a little.
And the funny thing is, it was just a tiny bit of cramp.
Yeah, a cramp.
tiny bit on my right calf. So not even my ankle. My ankle was great, remember? And my a tiny bit, and I said, "It's coming." That way I could feel it in the post.
And I said, "Just stop. It's better sometimes just to stop. Get address it, make it work, and then keep going." Yeah. And that's the same thing for even ultras. Obviously, if you kind of are starting to feel something, a red spot, a blister, a little hunger, a little thirsty, whatever it is, you need to address it like right away. Yeah. Don't wait it will fix by itself. It will get better. It's never gonna get better.
Well, do you know what? That was definitely one of my takeaways from it. And even though we'd done it at the right time, that'll always stick in my head, the fact that as soon as you feel it, deal with it there and then. And some of the guests that we've had, remember, I've always said about when it comes to blisters, you feel that tiny pinch in the
right
moment,
away.
get it right away.
So same thing. That's great that you did that. You were feeling a tiny bit of a cramp in there, and I'd said, stop, stretch it, take a second. It will be better, because then you will be able to pick up and then just finish strong, which that kind of worked. And that's exactly how we did it.
In fact, I was encouraging other people, remember?
I know. So the last 3 kilometers, like I said, there was a lot of people starting to fall. The wheels were coming off from a lot of people. I think that's when everything starts hitting. And you had a friend, and we were like, come on. I was kind of like cheering everyone. And the guy was like walking. So I was like, don't walk, come on, you can do this. I know. And you got a wee team of it was a guy and a ghetto, and they were like, okay, and it's like that camaraderie of the running community. I don't know, I love that.
But interestingly enough, and I think for anybody doing a half marathon, I can only give you my 1 half marathon advice.
Of course.
I tell you what definitely happens is you've definitely got at the beginning this urge, like we were saying, to move fast. Don't do it. Just slow your pace down.
Yeah.
When you get to halfway, that's when I felt so strong.
Yeah.
The hydration, I probably underhydrated, I think, and that's why I got cramps. So the hydration over that period
Maybe.
in the middle of the game, because you have to hydrate before you get to 18,
Yeah.
not at 18. But there is definitely, on the last 2 kilometres, there is something that takes over you.
You're like, this
That
is
you're
it.
I said to you that I could see the Burj Al Arab,
which was the finish line.
and that would be like, for example, you guys seeing the finish line coming down from a hill or whatever, or
Yeah.
coming down from a mountain. There is definitely something that kicks in.
Yeah.
It's another
You don't
gear.
feel
And
pain anymore.
I've never experienced that before.
That is so funny.
That it kicks in. So for anybody out there doing it, if you have that decent start and you keep a good tempo, fuel water definitely to deal with cramp in that 15 to 18 stage. By the time you get to 18, there's something takes over you that just gets you over the finish line.
Oh,
and I've never experienced any of that before. And that was amazing.
Yes.
Magical indeed.
And I know I told a lie. We told a lie last episode, guys, and I do want to apologize. Because it was supposed to be an interview.
Oh, yes.
This episode, but Ant just finished his first half, so I just wanted to pick his brain. I just wanted to kind of talk, and I know we're bringing you along with all his journey, and I think
yours.
and mine. I think at this point it's like yours.
No, it's definitely
and
yours.
I wanted you to bring us part of this, big moment for you, and I didn't want to let it pass. So. And like I said, half marathon is for someone that started a year ago, I think with all the inconveniences of your pain in your ankle and all that, I think it's great. So with that said,
well, interestingly enough,
let's start.
Before you go on to Andy's facts, I was speaking to a mutual friend of ours.
Yeah.
And she was talking about her training for a half marathon, and also moving on to doing ultras. And she's like, I'm nervous of doing ultras. And
It's easier, people.
And I was saying to her,
It's
well, I
easier.
tell you what, right? Because see, the road running, it is definitely harder.
Yes.
It is definitely harder.
It's agreed.
And she said to me, Tanya must be having some magic over you to get you to run and get you on an ultra. She said it's the Mexican voodoo.
Is it Mexican voodoo?
and maybe she'll work the Mexican
Show
voodoo.
you the Mexican voodoo
She'll
team,
make the
people. If you
Mexican
stay
voodoo on
around,
you.
you hang around, I can assure you, I can convince you that you are capable of doing wild shit. So if you, come
I
along.
thought I could do a half
Come along.
marathon a year ago, but
No,
there you go.
but to be honest, yes, I would like to pick in that thought in a second. Let's go with
Okay.
Andy's facts, and then we'll go into is road running harder or less or easier than
one of the
trails and ultra running. So, but let's go with Andy's
obviously maybe
facts.
is that the toughest part, and we'll talk about it in a minute. I think was the recovery.
Yeah.
That was the most unexpected part for me, because I expected to be, on the day I expected to be a bit ropey, the next day possibly, but my recovery kind of lasted almost 4 days.
All right.
Just because I had a wee bit of, those pulls in my calves I just never expected. Yeah. So I done a wee bit of research. I done a wee bit of research.
We feel on
it.
Instagram. If you want to jump in and leave your comment, just leave us there. There's a runner. Hello. Yes.
So I wanted to talk about duration of recovery.
Okay.
So recovery time varies between half marathon and ultra marathon runners, obviously. But a study on recreational male runners who completed a half marathon found that fatigue symptoms lasted at least 24 hours post-race. In contrast to ultramarathon runners, often required extended recovery periods due to the prolonged and intense nature of the event. For instance, after a 100-mile race, runners may take up to 10 days off from running to facilitate adequate recovery.
Do you remember after my 100-miler?
Yeah, I remember it being a good few days, but it just shows you the difference.
Of course.
The effect of what an ultramarathon has on your body.
Yeah. And also recovery will depend on obviously how long you've been in the sport and how long your body is now adapted physiologically to the efforts. So, for example, maybe a half marathon would have obviously felt way harder on your body than probably for me the next day. I was like, nothing happened. But maybe like you're taking a little bit longer. So there is no perfect time for recovery, or there is no like good, that was a good recovery, a bad recovery. It will depend a lot. Also in women will depend a lot in what kind of phase you are in your hormone cycle. It would depend what kind of nutrition you if you're good with nutrition, you're bad, or if you hydrated well or not. So don't think that is a specific, there is no a perfect time for recovery.
I used to think that fitness coincided with recovery. So, for example, if you are super fit, then your recovery is better. But there is a difference, because your engine is what makes you fit.
Yeah.
But your recovery is muscles, which is a different.
Do you remember when I was saying about the races, for example, that the 250 kilometer ones, one of the things that I noticed really hard, it was my recovery. Like I was fine, but my body definitely did, like my insides of my body, my stomach, my intestines, my hormones, all that takes at least 2 weeks to kind of go back to its normal. So definitely it's a different time lapse from.
But then that just proves to you as well that with your engine, the water doesn't affect your engine for hydration, but it affects your muscles.
Yeah.
So that's why it's super important.
Super important.
And electrolytes as well.
Correct.
Okay,
before, after, and during.
That was a nice link to muscle damage and inflammation.
Oh, I suffered that.
Both half marathons and ultra marathons induce muscle damage and inflammation, but the extent differs. Half marathon runners experience elevated markers of muscle damage such as creatine kinase for at least 24 hours post-race. Ultramarathon runners, however, can exhibit significantly higher increases in these markers, with levels 100,000 to 200,000 UL, depending on the race length.
I know it was high, fitness. But not like that wild.
Yeah, but what it is it's because it's changing exponentially.
Yeah.
Because your mileage goes up, it goes up exponentially.
And I want to think, we don't know how long is that ultra marathon. Remember that ultra marathon is anything over 50 kilometers, right? So it could go from 50 kilometers to freaking 400 kilometers. So there's a very wide range.
That's why there's quite a wide scope.
Yeah,
on that,
exactly. So
but, I mean, that surprised me about how much that was.
It is, yeah.
Okay, neuromuscular fatigue. The pattern of neuromuscular fatigue differs between single stage and multi-stage ultramarathons, which I thought was interesting for you. Yep. Research indicates that the single stage ultramarathons result in greater central fatigue immediately post-race, while multi-stage events lead to more prolonged impairments in muscle contractile function. Okay. This suggests that recovery strategies may need to be tailored based on the race format.
We already experienced that 100%.
So while they've got a time frame on the runnings, not the stage races, the continuous races, on the stage races it differs. But I think when I was reading about it, it's like, because you have those rest periods.
Yeah, you recover a little bit.
You recover and then you start again. So imagine it's like keep starting.
But it's a whole week of doing that rather than one day or 1 day and a half.
Well, not necessarily a whole. It could be any other stage races as long as it's over the ultra marathon range. Do you know what I mean? But I thought that I mean, again, you would think these things would be the same, but they're not.
No, absolutely not. And I experienced that in these. Obviously, it was my first year experiencing with stage racing, and definitely again. Absolutely, I can feel the difference. I have plenty of experience as well in ultra running, just normal one stage running, and it takes me. It was almost like super fast for me, the recovery, and now in these ultra stage or multi-stage races, totally different. Yeah. It takes days.
And that's the thing. I mean, there was quite a big difference. We understand now going from just running an ultra marathon
a normal 1 day. Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so gastrointestinal distress. Now, this is really interesting.
This is the one I've told you.
Ultramarathon runners are more prone to gastrointestinal issues compared to half marathon runners, which is quite obvious.
Yes.
Studies have reported that as much as 60% of ultramarathon participants experience digestive problems, including nausea and gastrointestinal, got it first time, bleeding, due to the extended duration of nutritional challenges of the race, such as issues less prevalent in half marathon runners.
Yes, of course. The longer it is,
60%. So that means if you've got 100 runners out there, right?
60 of them.
60 of them are going to have a problem with their stomach.
Also, it would depend in the race. For example, in the races that we've done with extreme heat, the gastrointestinal issues are duplicate, because being in the heat, you are exerting your body way much more, and that definitely brings, or if you're in altitude, which is something I'm going to be facing in Atacama as well, you will face that intestinal distress even more. Thank God I do not have an underlying not condition, but I'm not very prone to stomach issues other athletes that I coach or that I know, that they are almost every race feeling quite sick.
I don't recall
I'm actually pretty okay. Only the 100-miler, but I mean it was pretty okay, understandable. And the other ones, I think it's been the heat, the one that has gotten me. But usually you can take just an nausea pill, an anti-nausea pill, and which the race organizers give you, and that usually does it. So yeah, and also take care of that, because if you start vomiting or doing that, you are losing not only hydration but nutrition and all that. So it's very also dangerous to not, if you suffer sort of gastrointestinal issues. Yeah, there's ways actually to train your
I was just about to
your
say
tummy,
that,
or
we've discussed that with other people as well.
Yes, you can train your tummy to start kind of because now we're pushing even further the nutrition, right? Before it was only 1 gel an hour, which now we understand that is under nutrition. That is so bad now. We need to increase our nutrition. So that increasing our carbs to 90, 120, that implies that you're eating a lot, and you have to have a pretty strong tummy to deal with that amount of food in movement and in stress. So yeah, definitely something to train as well.
Okay, so next one's psychological recovery, which is something we've touched on before.
Yeah.
The mental recovery process can differ significantly between half marathon and ultramarathon runners. Ultramarathons, due to their extended duration and physical demands, often lead to more pronounced mental fatigue and a higher incidence of post-race blues. This psychological impact necessitates comprehensive recovery strategies and address the physical and mental.
Did you get it right? The blue.
Well, the thing is you don't really. I think here's a better way of saying it. I didn't have a runner's high, right? But what I was high at finishing the run, if that makes sense. And then afterwards, I thought to myself, and I think I said to you jokingly, well, if I can do a half marathon, I guess the next thing is to do a marathon. No, I'm not planning doing a marathon as yet, because we're going to talk about road racing in a second. But obviously we've got the ultra marathon planned. But there was definitely a high of some kind. The post-race blues, I've not really had them.
I think it's not that half is tiny, but I think you don't go as high as
Yeah, everybody.
Crash.
What I've said in a previous podcast is, no matter what distance you run, if it's your first time running a 5k or a 10k or a half marathon or a marathon or an ultra marathon, that achievement that you make at that time is amazing.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? So you enjoy that moment, and you enjoy being able to do it, and I've done it. And I think it's only natural, and we joke about runner's math, is what to do the next thing. Your 5k will move to 10k, your 10k will move to 20 or whatever. So that's what's in my head now. Now I know that I can do the 21 point whatever it is. I know I can.
Well, I am so proud, and this is a testament to anyone that wants to run and feels like it's a dream, or it's too hard, or it's too impossible, or I don't know. just know that it is possible with a little bit of consistency. I think that's all you did pretty much.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm not gonna say you have been out there killing yourself every run, and you that's not the way. And I think it's because also you have like my feedback. Like I don't take things like that. My training it's not like that anymore. It used to be, but now I'm a little bit more relaxed and chilled again because I've been for so long now that I'm not so.
Well, we spoke about it in the last podcast. Everybody is different and they all take it in different ways, and that's what I'd said I'd learned in the previous podcast, is that people were saying to me, I've been training really hard for this half marathon, and I was thinking to myself, I haven't,
yeah. But that doesn't mean, and also
it's
depends in there.
I haven't, it's just that I have been training, but when they say hard, I think to myself, my runs and my what I would class as training is just being consistent.
Plus it depends in the objective, right? Yours was to finish, to obviously experience your first time, but obviously if you're going for time, for example, I would imagine their training would look totally different, and it would be, I would say that's not an easy training. They would be absolutely putting some sessions like killer sessions, but that's a whole different sport, I think, like chasing like really fast times, and it just requires a totally different.
But I think people need to do what they need to do to get their confidence to complete
first
the race,
get there,
no matter what it is.
Yes,
and I take my hat off to anybody that does that.
I think just do it the first one, and then you can decide, like Andy, if you want to go further or if you want to just stay in that and do faster, or just stay in that. We were having a conversation with a personal trainer actually that goes to our gym, and funny enough, we found him in the race, in the pre-race day, and he was going for a time, and like he was mentioning, he's like, I don't like to run further because I know he's into like building muscle and all that, and he's like, if I run more, that will compromise my building muscle, which is true in some case, because obviously you are putting your effort into aerobic, and then that means that you're burning muscle rather than, so that there is a loss of that. So yeah, definitely I understand what he's saying. So yeah, that's another thing. You can be, depending on your objective, but anyone that's out there trying something different and just going for it, I am so proud, and I'm so proud of you.
Thank you. I'm so proud everybody had done it. And everybody is going to do it.
I know. We are so, and the event was so much fun. It was so well organized. The goodie bags were really good. The medal was really good as well. So if anyone wants to, I don't know, follow in years, come and experience Dubai half marathon, I highly recommend it.
I got an Addy Zero t-shirt.
The goodies were quite well.
And
so
for the first 250 people over the line, they got a pair of Adidas trainers.
That was like
Adidas.
That was like elite runners, though, because 250 of 10,000. That's like pretty fast.
But also, they were giving out vouchers to anyone that wore all Adidas to the race.
Yeah, so I guess they're very sponsored by Adidas. But great event. I recommend it. It was a great fun, and you can see all sizes, colors, wearing different things. Everything was just there, and that is the cool thing about Dubai in general, because everybody is different. They're all coming from different places of the world, and it was just a big international party. So I love that. Even that is great. I think even all my races, obviously the ones that I've been doing are like that, and I think that's one of the things that I love the most. Like just starting in being in the start line, just listening all to different languages, and it's just like where am I? It's just like this parallel universe.
That was my first start line.
Yes.
So that was a bit strange.
Okay.
I think, and I don't know, for anybody that's doing their first half marathon or whatever, first race, you will find it strange because it is just crazy with people. Everybody's all bunched together. I mean, you've got very little space to move because everybody's just ready to go. The energy is so high, and when the gun goes, it's like...
That's it?
Yeah, but there's people running at different paces. You imagine you've got like 10,000 people.
Yeah,
and everybody's starting off at different paces.
Yeah.
So in my head, I was like, right, okay, we need to be super cautious here because everybody's all.
It's very easy to get caught up
and
into the
people
madness.
flying past you, and people slowing down. Some people stopping.
They didn't have like big marathons. They will have gates. Obviously, if your pace is X pace, you will go in first, and it's divided by paces. So that kind of helps with the pacing, like the fast people go front, and that's how kind of they manage it, how can they organize them. Obviously, this one is not as big yet to make that, so there is just one general off. So it was lots of people, different paces, etc.
Do you know if they manage things like the UTMB like that?
Yeah, that
because
one.
Obviously,
no.
there is. That I mean, that is the biggest ultra race there is. So I just wonder.
Yeah, but no, they also have just one gunshot. So yeah, one timeout. So yeah, it's just like fight for your life.
the beginning is fight for you.
It's fight for your life.
It is just definitely it's the one place you need
so
to
be
just
sure
watch what's going on.
you practice that like.
Yeah, get big shoulders.
Yeah, just ready to kick some ass there. Excellent. So let's go back to that chat we were talking about. What was?
Road running.
Road running is easier than trail running?
No, trail running is easier.
That's what I'm saying.
Way easier.
Is road running? Oh yeah, because I said it the other way.
Trail running is way easier. I think that. Well, I mean, I know we talk about it. Ultra marathons and trail running is not. I don't want to say this bad, but it's not really running, is it?
What? Oh my God, you're gonna receive so much hate.
What I mean by
people
that,
just turn off their podcast
running
just now.
There's different levels of running. You've got people that run and run and run. Forrest Gump style.
Yeah.
And what they'll do is they'll run over anything and run anywhere, and they will continue to run and not stop. Then you've got
trail runners,
road runners. Road runners, no matter what distance it is that they are doing, if they're in a race, they will go from start to finish and not stop. Generally speaking, that is the aim of their game.
Yeah.
Whereas the ultra races and trail races are a completely different thing. I would actually class them as a different sport.
I think it's a different sport.
Because what happens is you run the runnable bits, then you walk the bits you can't run, and then you're climbing.
The climbing bits.
The climbing bits. So what actually happens is it's broken down.
I think it's like a triathlon. Seriously, it's a three different. Like you need to be good at running, you need to be good at climbing or hiking up hills, and you have to be good at walking and fast walking, not like leisure walking. So yeah, it's like it's three different techniques, three different mechanisms, three different body mechanics that you have to be good at.
Yeah, and I think the thing is that in elements, the ultra running and trail running in particular is way more difficult, obviously, because what's happening is it's a longer distance. Your engine has to be okay. There's a lot more that can go wrong.
Yeah,
versus like,
you're a little bit more like alone. Because usually it's alone there.
And that's all great. And actually, there's parts of that I love as well when we go out. But then when you're doing the races, like what I just done. You've got so many people around you all the time, and
I think it's a fun one.
And it's fun, and it's just constant.
It's different.
It's just constant. What you're doing is you're doing a constant movement all the time, and what you're doing is you're managing your pace and things like that. Do you know what I mean? Whereas with ultra marathons, unless you are someone that's competing to get a place,
someone competitive.
You're more watching your nutrition, and you're more watching how much water
how you're feeling,
and how you're feeling.
There's no blisters, it's like you're managing.
Yeah, you're managing your whole body a bit differently, and I think that's different. Yeah. And so again, I would go back to saying that I think they're two very different sports altogether.
All right, okay. I mean, I've said that all along, but I just wanted to hear your. As you that you were just starting to experience both things.
It's difficult for me to talk about because I know that you've said to me a lot that when running a half marathon or on a road or running any road race, then it's the pounding all the time on your knees and on your hips.
My bones were so sore one day, not my muscles. My bones, like my hips, I could feel my hips like someone just like punched them 100 times.
Yeah. Well, being honest with me, I've not felt the difference between the pain that I felt after doing the half marathon versus say the 20 kilometre trail that we done. Because I still had the same pains that I had.
Okay.
On the trail.
It's just your ankle is different.
It's my ankle and my T-band.
Yeah.
That's what I was feeling, but
I think your issue is different. So
but I mentioned before the recovery was what really struck me. I didn't expect my recovery to be as long after a half marathon.
So what were you feeling?
It was more my calves. My calves were...
Your calves.
Yeah,
So one thing that we talked about and I've seen with Andy, and we said it in the podcast, but I will repeat it, is that at the beginning, I wouldn't put a lot of effort in the technique. I know a lot of people are going to shoot me for this one, but listen. Listen, Linda. Just hear me out here. Andy is just starting. It's already a high level stress just for him to go out there and do that. I think your body mechanics are not 100% there yet. No. I think you hover instead of running. So you are not lifting your knee a lot, which it will come with more strength training, right? So I don't want to be over technical with you, like this is the perfect way to run. First of all, there's no perfect way to run, right? But you should put your knee up or do this and do that. If you do not have the strength to support it, it's not going to be economical for you, for your body to do that for a long period of time, and you're just going to get injured and more tired, and it's not going to work. So it's just, and don't let that stop you. Just keep running how you are with what you have, and then keep working on your strength, and then that periodically, once you're a little bit, now for example you're more comfortable with the 10, maybe you can start introducing into strides and like, okay, let's pick up the knee and just maybe work on it. But now you are already, like, let's say in a 10K or in a 5K, you can start introducing a little bit of technique, but now you are more comfortable. Imagine if you are just starting and you're like, I'm trying to breathe, I'm trying to raise my knee, I'm trying to, my pace, it's just too much.
Yeah.
I think it was a nice way how you did it. And I think another important thing that maybe that made you kind of fall in love with it, or is making you not feel scared about the whole experience, is just to make it fun and enjoyable. I mean, we've been going out to the trails and we've been dancing in the trails and having fun in the trails and just petting the camels on the way and taking hundreds of pictures. And, I think that is also very important. And sometimes when you are new and you think, oh, I can't stop, or I can't, you don't have that sense, but you can stop and you can walk and you can do it if that is going to make it fun. I think I would prioritize a lot the fun part rather than anything else, because that is the most important. If you love it, if you start loving it, if you really start enjoying it, that's going to make you stick with it, and that's going to create that commitment and that consistency. And if you have that, that's all you need, because once you are consistent, it's going to happen.
I tell you what though, right, I definitely noticed a massive difference. And a bit of advice I would give to anybody just starting and aiming to do like a half marathon or whatever, is actually get out there on the trails and use them as your training runs. Yeah. I tell you why, because see, for my leg muscles and my stamina, I mean, like we came to a bridge. In fact, there's a story a long time ago when we were in Glasgow that I was only running on the treadmill, remember? Mm-hmm. And it was my first run out with the run club. And I was storming ahead, wasn't I? Was out there running, no problem.
Oh yeah,
and
when there was an uphill.
And it was an uphill, and it was quite a decent incline. And I got there and I started running it, and I had to stop because I couldn't run it. Yeah. Remember? And everybody flew by me, and I was like, why is everybody flying by me? And that gave me a bit of a lesson that you had to do a wee bit more work on the hills. Yeah. So definitely.
And not running,
not just walking, because we've hiked and we've ran and everything. But see, getting out there onto those trails and doing that uphill work. When I came to the bridges on the run, remember?
I know, you were so strong. I was struggling. Yeah. Because my bones were already cooked for the day before. And I was like, hell, I'm going to die here.
But I even knew myself, and I was actually quite proud of myself because I remembered that story. And I flew up them, and when I got to the other side, I was thinking to myself, that is because I've been out there doing the hills on the trails.
You've been out there doing on the trails, and you've been consistent, because if you go out on the trails once, it's not really going to make anything, right? So it's been consistency. And even if you don't have trails or anything nearby where you live, it's just been really consistency. What you experienced, it was the result of your consistency of giving it time a year. You know, heels or not, whatever, the work has been there for a year. So that's what I was saying. You need to do something that works for you.
Yeah. But a good alternative would be park runs. Because a lot of parks out there that people have in their local cities or their towns or whatever.
Yeah, those are 5Ks.
Are up, down. I mean, they can be whatever you want. At the moment, they're a popular 5K.
Yeah, they're 5Ks.
But in most parks, what you've got is you've got hills, whether it be a small one or a light one.
Yeah.
Get out, try them, because it will make a massive difference to you in your races.
I don't like heels.
I know I don't like them either, but I was quite pleased that I'd done that.
I walk them. There's no way.
And
actually, I was very surprised. I was like, oh, hell, I'm going to have to run this because it's a road thing and nobody's stopping. So, all right, I'll kind of jog it. But I was hurting. Yeah. Thank God the heels in here are not, well, in the road, they were not very long. Bad. So I was like, okay, I was able to hold in there. But they were like, if they were a little bit longer than that, I would have struggled, to be honest. I'm terrible at heels, people. But yeah. That's great. So if you are starting, just put up there again, consistency, like just make it enjoyable. And then also don't feel pressured in joining a run club or going with a group. I know it may look fun, but I'm going to tell you guys my personal story. I did not feel motivated to go to a run. And actually until today, I enjoy it sometimes, but it's not, I prefer to go alone. And that's another thing that it is okay. Like you don't need to to join the run club if you're not a social person or you want to take that moment for you, or if you want no pressure. Because going in the run club, to be honest, it is a bit of pressure. I mean, you have to stick with a group. You are with a group. And I always feel like that, and I still feel it until today. Like I'm a slow person, and sometimes my run club, or the clubs that were in Scotland, for example, they were going for 15K, but I've been, and the next day I had, let's say, a longer run or a hike or whatever, 4 hour, and this was my short day. Or I had a really heavy session at the gym, and they were going out there sprinting 15K, and I could never keep up because my training is very different, or my training is different. Everyone's training is different, unless you all live in the same house and eat the same and live the same lives. Everyone's lives is different. So I could never run with them because I would feel like it was impossible to keep up, and I would feel pressured. I would try to keep up, and then I would get out of my pace, and my heart was pounding, and instead of being a zone 2, I just started going into zone 4 and just starting to spiral around, and that didn't make it enjoyable for me, and I just got super spooked. I was like, you know what, I can't do this. And it's not that I don't enjoy it, but I feel there's a lot of pressure out there, and people tell you this story like, oh, you want to run? Join a run club, But you know what? You can go out there alone as well, and it's absolutely fine. Try it all, and don't feel guilty that if you prefer to be alone. It's okay to be selfish. And if you just want that hour by yourself and enjoy, and you find out that makes you happier and that allows you to be slower and enjoy your run, because maybe you would like to stop, and if you want to stop, you stop, and if you want to do, you want to take your time, that's absolutely fine as well.
I think you touched on an important point when you said it's about enjoying it. It's about enjoying the run. This is where we disagree a little bit, because I think it should be about the enjoyment side of it. And if you, like, when I went to the run club, I was out there running. I enjoyed the social element of it.
Yeah.
I enjoyed running with people and talking and actually finding that I was in zone 2. but I enjoyed the running and talking to people. Like, for example, I was speaking about Joyce earlier on.
Yeah.
We were talking away on the run, and we were having a laugh and all that.
Yeah, once in a while is fine, definitely.
I quite enjoyed that. But it took me a while to get to the point where I was confident of being able to be in a run club. So you need to go through that period of probably being alone until you're confident.
Yep.
And then for me, the most important thing is not joining a run club, it's joining the right run club.
Yes, I
agree,
joining 100%.
Joining one that you understands at your pace, it might be somebody that you've actually went a run with in the past, said, oh, do you know what, you should come to a run club with us. That's a great recommendation, because if you're running with them already, then that means, and they're going to a run club, you're running at the same pace.
Yeah.
So I think it's good to do a bit of research on some of these, because otherwise it can demoralise you, like what happened
That's
with
the
you.
thing, I think,
Where
yeah.
what's happening is you're a seasoned runner, and you're going out there and you're feeling that way. It's because what they were doing is you felt under pressure to keep up with them. And you weren't really being in the run
And my
club.
objective is very different. I was training for, I don't know, for a 50K or a 60. I mean, there was not a lot of people in that run club that were training for that. So I knew my training during the week was a little bit more brutal that they were experiencing. So obviously they were, let's say, a little bit more fresh. I'm not saying that I'm faster, but you know, obviously they were feeling a little bit better when I've been already hurt all week and I had to do a 15K or whatever distance, you know. So that is different. Same thing for anyone. So definitely that's a good. So if you're starting, you started running alone a little bit, and then don't feel pressure, because I know I've seen a lot out there recently, like tons of run clubs. But don't feel like, oh, if you don't if you don't join it, you know, you can do it alone. It's absolutely fine. We'll be fine. We're here with you.
But it's also a good way of meeting people.
But I love it, you know. Yeah, just build up for that maybe. But that's great. So other than that, we're very proud of Andy. If you have any questions and how his training was, let us know. But again, I think we've been... he's sort of following sort of the same ideology or the same methodology as me. We do a lot of strength training, and then we just sprinkle over a little bit of running because I don't love that much running, so I just have to.
In fact, sometimes I have to get you out there.
Oh man, I struggle running. Like, I don't know. Yeah, I would wonder if I would be better runner if I actually enjoyed it.
Yeah,
probably.
Maybe. Do you know something though, right? Even though and I've said this before, is even though you don't enjoy running, I've seen you a couple of times recently where you've been excited to get out on runs, and you can see it in your face. I think that you don't necessarily enjoy the
act.
The act of it, or for example training, but see when you get to your ultra races.
Oh, I absolutely love that.
Yeah, you can see that you love that.
But I know to get there, I need to train. And that's where.
It's an essential part.
So one of the things, sometimes you have to do what you don't like to do. And I know maybe some people have to wake up early to squeeze in their run because that's the only time they have to do it.
You say that because you've done it today?
I did it today. Oh my God, I'm so proud. I woke up at 6. That is early for me. Other than when it's summer here in Dubai, I don't like to wake up that early. But sometimes we need to do things that we don't like, and that's absolutely fine as well. And sometimes I have to run, I have to run even though I don't love it, but that is going to take me to my bigger goal, which is like spending long days out there in the desert or long days in the trails. And I do love that adventure. But to be able to do that, well, sadly, I have to put in a little bit of work. So, yeah.
I think one thing that doing the half marathon, and I knew it would come into my mind, is it would make me think about the ultra in Greece.
Yeah.
And it's definitely made me think about, and I know I was saying it for the half marathon, I felt like it wasn't training as such, it was just consistency. There's definitely going to need to be an element of training for that. I'm going to need to really manage from between now and then getting my knee right.
Yeah.
So, and I know that that's an exercise issue because it's an IT band, and I'll need to deal with that. I'll need to deal with my hips as well, and mobility. And my ankle I was really pleased with, and it's been really good. But also, I had pains in my bum.
Oh,
which was
sauce.
That's what you told me? I didn't even know there was a muscle there.
That's when you know it's bad, when it's like, I don't even know there was a muscle
I didn't know there was a muscle there.
I didn't know I had a muscle in the bum.
And when I stopped, and it was when I stopped, I was like, whoa, what is happening there? Yeah. And we talked about it. So that is something I'm going to need to train, because it's the reason why is obvious, I think, is obviously it's the ultra, but the element is I need to get up the next day and do another one.
Yeah.
And I can't have the worry of having a long recovery.
That's great that you're like starting to think that.
Yeah, I can't have a long recovery. I can't be recovering for 4 days. I can maybe be a bit achy. I can maybe be a bit achy the next day, but I need to be ready to go the next day, and that's where my focus is going to be.
Definitely. That's something I definitely kind of worked on. And then obviously I was able to put into practice in the stage racing, which we're going to put all those parts together for the next adventure. So Andy, obviously, as we know, he put himself out there in a very uncomfortable position, in a challenging position of doing a first half marathon. And this year, in my own way, I'm doing the same thing, but just slightly longer, and doing Cocodona 250. So I am excited to put all those little pieces that I've been practicing, like you're putting now your little parts together to face 215 Greece. I've been doing that for a year, just because obviously it's a little bit longer, so I needed a little bit more preparation, but physically, mentally, and all that. So I am excited to put all those in practice. We're going to have 400 kilometers across Phoenix. So from Phoenix to Flagstaff, it's a 400-kilometer non-stop race across the desert, and I am so excited for the views. It looks absolutely stunning, the race, and I am absolutely terrified. Like, terrified is understatement. Like, I am shitting my pants.
Why? Is it the distance?
It's the distance, because I've only done 250 in 6 days. Now I have 5 days to do double the distance. So that's definitely a big jump.
What is it that outside the distance? Because the distance is the distance.
Yeah.
Right.
But that's the only thing that scares me.
But to be able to do that, right?
Yeah.
You need to be able to sleep. And you need to be able to fuel.
And I'm
no concerns about any of that.
Well, yeah, exactly. I'm concerned of all that, because obviously I'm going to be covering more distance. Everything that implies that I may not have the time to sleep as much time as I used to have in the 250. So in the previous races, as you know, guys, I run from camp to camp. And let's say I would say the latest I finish, like 6, 7 p.m. And then I'll go to sleep until the next day, 8 in the morning. So that's a good 8 hours sleep, or rest. Let's call it not sleep, because sometimes, and a very light sleep, to be honest. You don't sleep 100%, but at least you are chilled and laying down or relaxed or whatever. In here, that time just goes to zero. Like, you are counting sometimes. If you're very lucky, I would have probably 1 or 2 hours sleep. But that's where the planning also comes into, because it's a non-stop, this one. So this one's a slightly different. It's not a stage race. This one just goes when the gun goes, and then until you cross the finish line for 100 kilometers further. So it also has like that extra layer of how you're going to manage it, right? In the other one, they tell you run 40, rest, run 40, rest, 80, so on, so on. In this one, you can do whatever you want.
Well, see, this was one of my questions, and the reason why I was asking you if you're worried about nutrition and things like that is because you have a crew, and you can obviously stop and organise for us to be there whenever you want, but you can have proper meals rather than
dehydrated fish.
I don't want to say or slate them, but they're not the best, are they? They're just bombs of calories and things like that. But you're going to actually be able to have proper food, which is going to fuel you a lot better.
And I'm not going to be carrying.
Yep, you're not going to be carrying, and you'll be able to have those stops. Granted, they have to be planned, right?
But you will.
Yeah. But you'll have them. You'll be able to nod out for half an hour, or whatever it is. So I think there are elements that we need to be positive about on it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. There is like the balance, when I'm saying like all these things are more difficult. The balance goes into, but these things will be not easier, but you have these things which you haven't had before. So it is a balance of, I really don't have fucking idea how it's going to work. I have no idea. I don't know. If you ask me, you will make it. I have no idea how my body is going to react. I've never taken it that further. I don't know the pain that I'm going to be in. I've seen multiple documentaries. We've watched them, and that does not look fun. Why I want to do it, I have no idea, but I want to do it. So yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, it's one of the biggies in the world.
Yes, I am so excited, and of course, we have that inside information, all what we're talking about, from Steve, the race director of Cocodona 250. And this time, we promise you, he's going to be the next week because we just wanted to celebrate Andy this week.
I appreciate that.
And we want to hear it from you because I've obviously, I think this podcast is now all about kind of inspiring people. I think it's been from the beginning, right? It's inspiring people and inviting people into running. And then I think sometimes maybe if someone sees my journey so far away, they find it almost like it's like too far away, right?
Yeah.
Like you're already gone. Like I cannot relate to you because you are far away. But you're coming in from zero, from scratch, and just sharing that journey makes it more attainable for people to see, you know what? And he's going to do it, or he's doing it, or whatever. So I think that's more inspiring than anything. And I always say that because
don't know about that.
That is, when you start, is so hard. Once you are in the mat train, you're in the mat train.
Yeah.
It's hard, but you are in the mat train already. I think to jump in the mat train, I think that leap is the hardest leap, to just go for it. It's the bravery step, right? And then it's like you're there, just party in the mat train.
Yeah. Well, I tell you what, right? One of the things, and this is going to sound so cliche, but one of the things that I must say, well, I remember, I have to thank everybody from pre-race, from the podcast, and friends, and
how
everybody
many people were cheering.
that were saying good luck, good luck, good luck. I mean, the amount of messages I received were fantastic. It really drove me. In fact, if I'm being honest, there was a part of the race that I thought I cannot stop because I can't let these people down.
Listen, sometimes a little bit of pressure is
but
fine.
Also, a big thanks to everybody out there as well from the podcast and friends that afterwards just.
Like really, I was saying, imagine if you were thinking that.
Honestly, I felt so pleased that everybody spent the time to send me a message. That was amazing.
Imagine if you're like thinking that and so on. Like when I get to a race and they're like, Tania, I've listened to the podcast. I got ready to this race. Yeah. Listening to you, it's really, I feel a little bit of a responsibility to bring you guys all the information, and we are transparent. We are so, there is no sponsorships, we're not selling anything. We're just telling you the things how they are, and hopefully bring some information to you from people that already experience it, and tell you the things that may happen when you jump into this mat train. We'll have a lot of fun. But yeah.
Having said that, we would really love you to like and subscribe if you can. We never. You
remembered. We never remember.
We never ask, and we never ask. We never ask.
We should.
But it really does help the algorithm and everything like that. Yeah. And we discover that now that we've got a lot of listeners in the States, and we've got a lot of listeners all over the world.
California,
But we would really appreciate it if you like and subscribe.
Yes, please. That would help us to keep you guys in the loop.
That can be my half marathon present from everyone.
Oh, all right. So that's a good one. People, if you are proud of Andy for surviving his first marathon, you need to go and send subscribe, or in Spotify, just write review or put us a star rating. I think
now you're putting the pressure on me.
Or in Spotify. We're going to see how many people really like you.
I don't like it.
All right, or in Apple Podcast, you can also rate the podcast, and you can write something.
Yeah, we would really appreciate
something for Andy, maybe, so if you like him.
I would really appreciate it.
I know, but like we were saying, looking at the other guy that said, "Oh yeah, I love the podcast, but get rid of Andy." You know
what? I know.
I don't know. I didn't know what to say. I was like, okay, well, thank you for listening. We're not getting rid of Andy. I'm sorry.
It's because he doesn't understand what I'm saying.
Maybe.
And if you're out there, I'm coming for you in the next ultra.
He's like, well, no, I knew, like, I seen him in the video, in the next video, throwing up. So, no, we just love all the feedback. All the feedback is good. If it's bad, good, whatever. We enjoy just sharing all with you. And yeah, we have that exciting episode tomorrow and next week. So don't miss that out. We're going to dive into Cocodona 250. Deep dive.
Love it.
Have a wonderful weekend, and remember to keep doing whatever makes you ultra happy.